Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I am having such a peaceful day today. I'm feeling so good. I'm feeling so great, so relaxed, and it's interesting because I didn't sleep great last night, but I feel awake, and I'm having so much fun filming videos today and just kind of hanging out with little Boo Radley and stuff. And it's a beautiful day in Indianapolis, and I'm excited about watching some shows tonight and stuff. So anyway, I thought that I would come over here and film a little meditation reading for you. So I brought the Language of Letting Go from Melody Beatty. I thought that we would look in here today to see what the meditation is for today. Today's date is September 18th. Let's go in here and see what... These glasses are dirty. Look, you know you are in trouble when you have 3 pairs of reading glasses within a foot of you, okay? These are kind of like my upstairs reading glasses. These, I don't love them so much. Here, I'll put each of them on, and you guys can tell me which ones are your favorite. I don't love these. I mean, they're nice, but I just like to wear them out and stuff like that. I don't love them. So those are my bedroom ones. And then these are the ones that I watch my shows in every single night. And this is so exciting, isn't it? These are the ones that I wear to watch my shows in every night. These are probably my favorites right now. And then these blue ones are the ones that I used to love these, and I wore them out a lot, but I just use them to like upload my videos and stuff like that now. And I always have them in my pocket, because I'll steal it from the computer and then I put them in my pocket. Such is life, right? Okay, September, a little travel down the road of reading glasses. For those of you that wear reading glasses, you will totally understand the plight of reading glasses, that you have them in every room and on every table. And I didn't understand when I was younger. My dad had reading glasses like every room you walked into, and they were like the old-fashioned. I think he still has these kind, the tortoiseshell ones that were like the half bifocal kind of looking glasses, and you get them at like Walmart for like a pack of 5 for like $10. And he'd have them like 2 on the kitchen island, 1 on the table in the kitchen by the fireplace, 1 in the living room, 1 next to his nightstand, 1 in the basement. He had them everywhere, 1 in his car. He had them everywhere, I'd be like, Dad, why do you have these reading glasses everywhere? Now I totally understand it. Okay, so let's get into this. September 18th. Let's see what the meditation is. With that long intro, it better be a good meditation today. Come on, Melody! Okay. Sometimes I do say that. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I need some good meditations today. Okay, today, September 18th. Oh, this is a good one. Letting the good stuff happen. Before recovery, my relationships were lousy. I didn't do very well in my job. I was enmeshed in my dysfunctional family. But at least I knew what to expect. I think this is interesting, this quote's from Anonymous, that I think that's part of it. Before I even get into meditation, I want to say this. For years and years and years, I always say this, I grew up in chaos, right? So I became very used to chaos. It's interesting starting this video talking about what a peaceful day I had and all this kind of stuff. Like, I used to be somebody that I did very well. I thrived in chaos. I thrived in constant, problem solving and chaos and, and all that kind of stuff. I don't do well with that today, and it's taken me many years to kind of like unravel that, where I moved from living in chaos, and honestly I think my mom getting sober and us getting sober together really helped that. And then, even in recovery, like I had a period where of my sobriety where I had a lot of friends, but there was a lot of like drama that happened in that friend group as well, even in sobriety, And so my friend Tanya and I talk about this a lot, that today it's like I don't have the luxury to not have peace and serenity in my life. I just don't. And I don't want to go back to that. As exciting, as fun as it was sometimes, not the chaos of my youth, but oh, we should go over here, we should do this, whatever. It's like today, my days are lazy and boring and simple, and I love it that way. I do. I love it that way, I love simple, peaceful days. But it took me a long time to get out of that. And so in this quote, where she says, before recovery, my relationships were lousy. I didn't do very well in my job. I was enmeshed in my dysfunctional family, but at least I knew what to expect. What's interesting about that is we sometimes get so used to having all of this negativity and chaos in our lives that becomes normal. And we almost kind of don't know what to do about it without it. It's like when you talk about self-sabotaging relationships, it's like you get into a relationship and the relationship is going well, but you're so used to having bad, lousy relationships that you don't really know what to do with this good relationship. It's like all of a sudden you have this great relationship. You're getting most of what you want. You're being respected. You're being validated. validated, you're being loved. And it's like, but something's got to be wrong. Like, this can't be real, right? And so you fight against it because internally, so many of us grew up in chaos and trauma and negativity, and we're enmeshed in dysfunctional families that we think that that's normal. So when you're having a peaceful family dinner, you're like, it's almost kind of like, this doesn't seem normal without a fight. Like, maybe one night we're like, oh, this is nice. The next night we're like, oh, okay. The third night we're like, this is not normal. Like, somebody needs to be fighting and yelling and screaming here because so many of us grew up in that. I think acknowledging that first, right? Acknowledging that so many of us, like for me, I think the first part of it was acknowledging that I grew up in chaos and trauma. And toxicity. And so looking at that from so many different areas, from being bullied to my mother's drinking to being from a divorced family, the time that my parents went through divorce, nobody's family got divorced. So that was like another thing that I felt like I was shunned by everybody, to, then like people talking behind my backs. I just didn't really know myself. I was uncomfortable in my own skin. I had a million things going. I mean, it's so many things, right? And I grew up with this feeling of being uncomfortable, to the point where then when I did feel comfortable, I didn't really know what to do with that. I was so used to not being happy that when I was happy, that was uncomfortable for me. Being happy was uncomfortable for me. Being peaceful, being serene was uncomfortable for me. I didn't know what to do with it. So it's like I pushed it away. I rejected it. And I think that's like what a lot of us do. We don't just sabotage our relationships. We sabotage the good parts of our lives. We push those good things away like we don't deserve them because we feel like we don't. It's like I always say this in the movie Pretty Woman, when he says you're beautiful and she says the bad stuff is harder to believe. When people tell you something long enough, you start to believe it. I believed that. I actually scripted a tape in my head that I would play over and over and over again, that you're a piece of crap, you're not worthy, you don't deserve to be loved, and I believed that. I believed that it wasn't a meaningful life unless there was, if we weren't fighting and we didn't care about each other. Like, there was a point where I really believed that. That love shouldn't look like, just going on nice vacations or having a nice dinner together or kissing each other on the cheek before you leave for work in the morning or when you say hello to each other or caring about somebody. That love meant that, like, it's like it was toxic and passionate and fire. Like, that's what love looked like. That's not what love looks like to me today. I want somebody that will fight for me in rooms I'm not in, or will fight for me, period, or be loyal to me, or also challenge me to stand up on my own feet and fight for myself. But I don't want to fight with people that I love today at all. I don't want to fight at all, And so I've had to move away from that idea that toxicity, chaos, trauma, negativity is comfortable, into finding a new space of safety, peace, and serenity. And love is comfortable. And I know that sounds crazy, but I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that relate to that. It's weird. It's weird to get used to it. So here I am so far already talking about this, and we're just into the quote. So this is good. Okay. I want the second half of my life to be as good as the first half was miserable. This is a really powerful meditation. Sometimes I'm afraid it won't be. Sometimes I'm afraid it might be, because we're afraid of the good things sometimes, see? The good stuff can scare us. Change, even good change, can be frightening. In some ways, good change can be more frightening than the hard times. Amen. The past, particularly before recovery, may have become comfortably familiar. This is what I'm talking about. We know what to expect in our relationships. They were predictable. They were repeats of the same pattern, the same behaviors, the same pain, over and over again. They may not have been what we wanted, but we knew what was going to happen. We could expect it. This is not so when we change patterns and begin recovering. We may have been fairly good at predicting events in most areas of our lives. Relationships would be painful. We'd be deprived. Each year would be almost a repeat of the last. Sometimes it got a little worse, sometimes a little better, but the change wasn't drastic. Not until the moment when we began recovery. And this doesn't just mean recovery from addiction. This can be recovery from codependency, recovery from just changing yourself, healing, whatever. Then things changed. And the further we progress in this miraculous program, the more we and our circumstances change. We begin to explore uncharted territory. Things get good. They do get better all the time. We begin to become successful in love and work and life. One day at a time, the good stuff begins to happen and the misery dissipates. We no longer want to be a victim of life. We've learned to avoid unnecessary crisis and trauma. Life gets good. How do I handle the good stuff? Asked one woman. It's harder and more foreign than the pain and tragedy. The same way we handle the difficult and the painful experiences, I replied. one day at a time. Wow. Today, God, help me let go of my need to be in pain and crisis. Help me move as swiftly as possible through sad feelings and problems. Help me find my base and balance in peace, joy, and gratitude. Help me work as hard at accepting what's good as I have worked in the past at accepting the painful and the difficult. This is really, really powerful, you know, and I know that when I say this is probably going to offend a couple people, but out of the learning experience that I had out of it, I do want to share it. One of the things that I had to realize in doing inventory with my sponsor and then also in therapy, was that many times, like where it says in here about having a hard time letting go of the past, for me to constantly talk about being a victim of what happened to me in my past, victim of my circumstances, gave meaning to my life. It validated it. It would say, like, if I could say to people, well, I went through this, therefore this, if that makes sense. Not just talking about, like, growing up in an alcoholic home, therefore I've learned a lot, I'm a stronger person, or I went through bullying, this was my experience, this is how I've grown from it. But I'm talking about, like, if you went through this, like in recovery, we have something that, like, if you had my life, you drink too, we kind of say. So it's kind of this self-victimization mode, but we don't ever really want to move out of it. And I can remember my sponsor, another sponsor that I had, that said to me, if you choose to forever stay the victim, you will forever be treated like the victim, not just by others, but by yourself as well. Well, when I looked at that statement, I was like, I don't want to be the victim forever. Like, because for me to be the victim, I have to constantly be reflecting everything in my life currently on what I lived through in my past. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to constantly, you know, I do talk a lot about stuff from my past because it helps me understand today who I am today and where I'm going. But that's different than being like, see, I went through this, so of course I'm going to be this way. Or see, I had this situation happen to me, so of course I'm going to be this way. Or see, I had this person treat me this way, so of course I'm going to be this way. Making excuses for who we are. See, if you went through, I went through, you'd drink too. If you went through, I went through, you'd act the same way that I do. And those excuses just aren't good enough. And really the person that you're cheating out is yourself. The person that I was cheating out was myself. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to live a good life. I deserve to free myself from those bonds that I was holding myself to of victimization, of all those things. I didn't see it that way. I hated when people would say, stop victimizing yourself. I'm like, a victim? Like, you have no idea what I went through. If you went through what I went through, you would be saying that. That's hurtful to say to somebody like, that's gone through things I went through. But in reality, what I was doing was I was holding on to those things because I did not know who I was without definition and identification of somebody that had gone through those things. I really didn't, you know? It's interesting because right now in therapy, I'm doing this trauma narrative over being bullied because it continues to come up in patterns in my life. My reaction to how I was bullied when I was 6 years old all through high school, I'm reacting to people in my personal life and situations very similar to how I did back then, and it has to stop. It wants to stop. That's me being a victim, is me reacting to things like I did 40 years ago. I can't continue to do that. I want to live a happy life. I want to have good relationships with people in my personal life, right? So for me to do that, I have to understand why I live in fear and why I react or respond, or, you know, why if somebody says something, I take it the wrong way and my feelings get hurt easily and whatever. Like, I got to understand all that kind of stuff, right? Instead of constantly saying, well, I mean, I was bullied, so, okay, well, I don't want to be that at 50 years old, 60 years old, 70 years old. I didn't really want to be that at 30 or 40 years old. But here we are, and I'm trying to learn from it. I'm trying to learn who I am today. And going through your pain and working through it and learning who you are is not staying in victimization. I don't want to stay in victimization. I think victimization is where people feel sorry for you. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I want people to learn from me. I want to learn from me. I want to learn from other people's experiences and what they've gone through. But I don't want people to feel sorry for me, you know? I don't gain anything when somebody says, I think it's nice when people say to me, I'm sorry for what you went through, that you were bullied when you were growing up. I think it's nice. I think it's kind, it's compassionate, sympathetic. It doesn't change anything, you know? It's nice in that moment. And I think that's what we like, because we like those nice things when people say to us, I'm sorry that you went through that. And so we want to hear those things instead of working through it. You know what? I want to teach people today that you can go through horrific shit. And the majority of the world has gone through 9 million times is worse shit than I've ever gone through. Excuse me, I don't usually cuss on this channel. Worse stuff than I've ever gone through, you know, and has taught the world how you live through those things. That's what I want to be today, the way that other people have been that to me. An example, you know, of endurance and resilience and strength, you know, and not continue to stay in victim mode. But for me to do that, I have to be able to look at the past and realize I grew up in chaos. I grew up in negativity. I had bad relationships, romantic relationships, bad friendships that I defined. I thought every friendship and every romantic relationship should look like that, you know? I had so many people tell me in my youth that I was a piece of crap, that if I had a guy tell me I was a piece of crap, it rang right to me. And I tried to get those people when I was younger, all those people that were bullying me, I tried to convince them that and this is me understanding my bullying, okay? That all those people that bullied me, if I could just get them to like me, then what that meant was there was something okay with, that I was good enough. I was good enough and I was worthy enough to love. But I didn't have that kind of power to change somebody's opinion. So if I got in a relationship with somebody and they started calling me a piece of crap back in the day when I was using and they said I was worthless and whatever, then in my mind, I went back to when I was being bullied and I was like, if I could just change their mind, if I could just get them to fall in love with me, this piece of crap person that talked to somebody in a way that you would never talk to somebody, they spoke to me that way. And I thought, and I cared so much what they thought and what they said. And I thought, if I could just get them to fall in love with me and talk to me differently, then that would mean that I was worthy. But what I didn't realize was I was caught up in that pattern, see? That pattern that I had designed for myself, that if I could get the person that liked me the least to like me the most, then that meant that I was okay. Well, that's a crock of shit. The person that needs to like me the most is me, period. And the person that needs to like you the most is you. And you deserve that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.